All right. All right. We'll just have a short introduction from what we've done so far and what this chapter is all about. It's called Dhyan Yoga. Dhyan, again, it means to meditate. So, through meditation, when we reach the Supreme Lord, this is what the chapter is all about. And we'll see how we have reached till now, the last 5 chapters. Krishna did speak about Sakama Karma in the second chapter. Sakam karma means when we do our activities and we expect something in return. So the motivation to work is what we're going to get as the results. So that is Sakam karma. Then higher than that is Nishkam karma. Nishkam meaning we don't expect anything as a matter of duty. We do our work. Above that comes Jnana Yoga, when a person wants to come closer to the Lord, understanding that this material world is temporary and there is a permanent relationship that I have with the Supreme. How can I come closer to Him? Through analytical study, through the study of scriptures and understanding that this world, how this world is temporary, and how beyond that there is something spiritual. And above that comes Ashtanga Yoga, which this chapter is all about. Ashta means 8. So 8 steps through which we can come closer to Krishna. And we'll understand all of that. This is what this chapter 6 is all about, Ashtanga Yoga or Dhyana Yoga. There are 8 steps. We're going to learn about that in briefly today's class. And then above that comes Bhakti Yoga, by connection with the Supreme through devotional service. And that is which is going to give us love of God, which is the highest. Okay, so a little bit more connection with the absolute truth, which can be in various ways, and various results are given respectively. So through karma yoga, through one's prescribed duties, when one comes closer to God, that in itself cannot lead to liberation. So after karma yoga, one needs to get into either Ashtanga Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga. Now, within these three also, what is the result? Respectively, in Jnana Yoga, through knowledge, one realizes the absolute truth partially. And then, because it's simply knowledge of eternality or eternity, then Brahma Gyan is there. Brahma Gyan is, for example, we've taken this example before also. If you take the example of a sun, right? The sun in itself, there's a physical entity, but then there's a surface and then there are rays coming out of the sun. So God is like that personal entity. And then there is his feature as Paramatma, or as the super soul who comes with all living entities in the heart. And then also as a feature of Brahman, which is the energy or the effulgence of the sun rays. So in Jnana Yoga, the culmination or the destination that the Jnana Yogi is aspiring for, merging into that light, for peace. Ashtanga Yoga, which is higher than Jnana Yoga, where a person through meditation, he realizes the localized aspect of absolute truth, which is the Paramatma, or the super soul within one's heart. So in meditation, this is what he aspires for. Meditating or focusing on the Supreme Being within oneself. And what is the destination? It can be whatever the Ashtanga Yogi wants, whichever planet he wants to go to. You must have seen those pictures in our Bhagavad Gita book. If you open it up, there's a picture of Ashtanga Yogi. This one, right? It must be blurred, but you know what I mean. The picture where the yogi is sitting down, all his limbs you can see because he hasn't eaten for years and years. through meditation one gets those mystical powers also, and some people just stop there. Once they get these 8 kind of mystical powers, they just stop there, and they forget there is something beyond that also. So but then a yogi, Ashtanga yogi, if he reaches his culmination in Ashtanga yoga, at the end moment, wherever or whenever he decides to quit his body, the soul departs from the head and goes to whichever planet that he wants to go. And then is Bhakti Yoga, which is the highest. Through devotional service, one realizes the personal feature of the absolute truth, which is Bhagavad Gyan. Now, for the other processes to get perfection, they have to come to the stage of Bhakti Yoga. There has to be a connection with Krishna through love and devotion. Then they can be successful. And what is the destination? Reaching Golok, Vrindavan, where God resides. That's where he wants all of us to come and serve him there permanently, eternally. So chapter 5, Krishna spoke about NKY's Nishkama Karma Yoga in detail, right? We learned about Nishkama Karma Yoga, which can be in the later stages culminated by Ashtanga Yoga or ultimately Bhakti Yoga to be successful. Now, beautifully at the end of the 5th chapter, Krishna introduced Dhyan Yoga in 5.27 to 28. And then Bhakti Yoga in 5.29, Bhoktaram Yagitapasan. And that's where he spoke about himself. But again, Dhyan Yoga, to be successful, one can culminate it by Bhakti Yoga, BY's Bhakti Yoga. So let's look at this. Practicing Nishkama Karma Yoga. Primary focus is on detaching oneself from worldly things. Motivation is purification. So detachment comes to one who realizes that he's not autonomous in his actions. There is something beyond him also, right? We make plans. I want to do this. This will happen tomorrow. I have this work, and this is how I'll do it, and this is how it's going to culminate. But things change. They don't go according to our plans always, right? So one understands that there is something higher, somebody higher beyond me who also has some plan for me, because of which everything changes, right? So there are 3, we've learned this before. So one is the jiva, we ourselves who make plans, who desire. But then there is God who sanctions, and there is the material energy, right? The 3 modes of material nature which facilitate the plan. So these 3 are the main doers. We've learned this before, just a little recap. And one who desires to practice Dhyana Yoga should not suddenly give up prescribed duties or Karma Yoga. When we come to the stages of Dhyana Yoga, we'll understand how, when a person can give up doing his duty, until when he should be doing his duties. So this was practicing Nishkama Karma Yoga. Practicing Dhyan Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. Primary focus is on meditating on the super soul within oneself. And what is the motivation? Realizing the presence of God within the heart. One who purifies his vision and activity by Nishkama Karma Yoga can make further advancement by practice of meditation on the super soul by the Ashtanga Yoga process. By meditating on the super soul, one can develop devotion to him in bhakti. So that was 27, 28 in the 5th chapter. 29 verse, Krishna speaks about how he's the supreme enjoyer, how he's the ultimate controller, and he's also our best friend. That is a Bhakti Yoga verse. And practicing Bhakti Yoga, primary focus is on serving Krishna with love and devotion. Motivation is to please Krishna. One who has purified his vision and activity by Nishkama Karma Yoga can make further advancement by practice of direct devotional service to Krishna. One can also directly, without getting into Nishkama Karma Yoga, directly start practicing Bhakti Yoga, knowing how Krishna is the supreme, how he's the ultimate controller, how he's the enjoyer, controller, and best friend. So here we begin chapter number 6 called Dhyan Yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga. So when we use the word yoga in the modern day, we understand yoga is the physical exercises, correct? In the previous chapters, Krishna has used the word yoga in connection with Nishkama Karma Yoga, right? Till now, yoga, when he said yoga, it is Nishkama Karma Yoga. Do your activity without expecting anything in return and connect it with the Lord. With knowledge that you're not the body, you're the soul. That is Nishkama Karma Yoga. Now, from this chapter onwards, especially in this chapter, the word yoga is going to be used for Ashtanga Yoga or Dhyana Yoga, except for the first 2 verses where Krishna is glorifying the Nishkama Karma Yoga path again, still. So let's look at the division of the verses in this chapter. From verse number 1 to verse number 9, Krishna speaks about advancing in Ashtanga Yoga, Arurukshu to Arudha stage. We're going to understand what this means. This is Sanskrit. 6.10 to 32, the stages of Ashtanga Yoga practice. 33 to 36, necessity of controlling the mind, then destination of an unsuccessful yogi, and then Bhakti Yogi, the topmost yogi. So now, again, we come back to the topic that I raised when we speak about yoga. For us in the modern day world, it means physical exercises, going to some yoga center or learning how to do physical exercises and doing them for what is the goal? For the betterment of our health. Maybe we're going through some health challenge, or we just want to be physically fit. We want to the motivation is to enjoy the senses much nicely, much better, be healthy, right? That is the goal. That's why people go and join the yoga classes. But Krishna is making us understand when we say yoga or Ashtanga yoga typically, that those exercises is just one part of a 8-step process of Ashtanga yoga. And when we see the process, the 8 stages, we'll come to see where it is and what it is exactly, asanas, and what it helps to do for the Ashtanga yogi. So from today, we do understand, first thing, what is the definition of yoga? Yoga is coming from the word yuj, which means to connect, right? To connect with somebody or something higher. So that is what yoga is. So we can connect with that Supreme Lord, right? Through yoga. That yoga is connection. So we can connect or do yoga with that Supreme Lord, connect with that Supreme Lord through Nishkama Karma Yoga, through Jnana Yoga, through Dhyana Yoga, or through Bhakti Yoga directly. Correct? So we can start now from verse number 1 to 9. Krishna speaks about the importance of mind control. 1 to 9. So the mind can become an enemy or a friend. 6.1. Krishna first glorifies Nishkama Karma Yoga. So let's look at the verse. You can open your Bhagavad Gita also at chapter 6, verse number 1. And we'll recite the verse in Sanskrit, then we'll see the translation also. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashritaha Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sasanyasi Sayogi Cha Na Niragni Na Chakriyaha. If somebody can unmute and read the translation, it's right there on the screen also.
The
Translation.
Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and, and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so let's look at this. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruit of his work. So, one who's working, but he's not attached to the result, and who works as he's obligated as a matter of duty, he's working, is in the renounced order. He's a sannyasi and he's a yogi. So, both. Till now, we've seen how Krishna used the word sannyas and yoga separately. Remember, sannyas was I want to give up my work, go to the forest, right? In the beginning, also of the third chapter, fifth chapter, Arjun was asking Krishna, should I work or should I leave my work? Should I become a jnani or should I do my karma yoga? Should I do karma? Remember these two questions. So, yoga was used in those terms. Here, Krishna is combining, he's bringing both of them together. The same person. He's a sannyasi also, he's a yogi also. Meaning he's detached and he's not doing his work also, and he's yogi, he's doing his work also. So how is it that he's both? Let's look at he's a true mystic also, not the one who lights no fire. Niragni lights no fire. That can be used in the context of when Krishna spoke about do your yajna, do your sacrifice. I hope you remember. This is all recap, right? Do your yajna meaning you have to be in this world and practice doing, keep doing your duties. And yajna is to sacrifice or give back for what we've received from the Supreme. So if you just give up, that means you're lighting no fire and you're performing no duty, right? You give up everything, you go to the forest without getting purely, the purification needed. If you do that, then you're not a yogi, you're not a sannyasi. So here Krishna is saying you are a sannyasi. The same person is a sannyasi and is a yogi, both. If he's unattached to his fruit and he works as a matter of duty. So he's bringing both sannyasi and yogi on the same platform. Sannyas means disconnection with the material world. The word sannyas in English translates to renunciation. The monks, right? We see how people just give up everything and dedicate their life. So that's sannyas. Krishna is talking about a person who's doing his work also, and he's taken sannyas also. How is it? So sannyas is through it's internal. You're giving up the fruit, you're not attached to the fruit, and you're working in that way. So, sannyas is again disconnection with the material world internally over here, and yoga is connection with the absolute truth. So, he's a sannyasi, he's a yogi also, because he's not attached to the fruit and yoga, he's doing his duty without attachment. And Krishna has used the word anashritaha karma phalam, without taking shelter of the result of the work. So ashrita is a Sanskrit word which means taking shelter. Ashrit hona, right? Taking shelter of the result of the work. People need motivation to work in this world, right? And that's why they take shelter of the fruit, ashraya. But this word, this person, this yogi, he is anashrita. If the outer achievements are our only motivation, then we do not make inner development or spiritual advancement, and we don't come closer to God. So, Bhagavad Gita is not against achieving results in this world, but Krishna again and again talks about detaching ourselves with the fruit, meaning we shouldn't be so attached, because when we get the results, we might become proud, we're so elated, and to the degree that we are so happy when the results come, when they don't come or they go against us, to the same degree we become depressed. So Krishna has from the beginning, starting from which verse, who remembers, second chapter, which verse Krishna speaks about be equipoised in both happiness and distress.
सुखे दुखे समे कृत्वा लाभालाभो जय जय तथा
जय
युद्धे युज्यस्व एवं पापमवाप्स्यति.
Sukha dukhe same kritva labha labho jaya jayo. Whether there is success or there's failure, there's happiness or distress, be equipoised. And the one who can do this stays away from sins, he says. So let's keep going. You'll understand the word sannyasi and yogi more, a little bit more. So sannyasi cha yogi cha, the same person is a sannyasi and a yogi. Who is that person who is both? He has disconnection from the material world, and he has connection with the absolute truth by various ways. One way is by doing one's prescribed duties, or nishkama karma yoga. Sannyasi, although working, he renounces the results of his actions, nothing for personal satisfaction. He's free from selfish desires. And a yogi who is connected with the complete whole or the supreme acts for the satisfaction of that supreme whole. Mind is not agitated by the thirst to enjoy the sense objects. Na niragnir na chakriya, not the one who lights no fire and performs no duty, that one should not give up yajna and give up one's duty in the name of renunciation. And we remember 3.16, he speaks about one who does not light the sacrificial fire lives a life of sin. He also calls him a thief. We're taking, but we're not returning back. Okay, what is mentioned in this chapter? Prabhupada says, eightfold yoga system to control the mind and senses, but it's very difficult in the Kali Yuga. So from the beginning itself, if you read the purports, Prabhupada has stressed upon what is required in this Kali Yuga. It is not at all practical to get into Ashtanga Yoga process, right? Because it is Kali Yuga, our minds are distracted, it is not possible. So he again and again emphasizes, and the Lord emphasizes that acting in Krishna consciousness, Karma Yoga, is better. Also, Prabhupada in each and every purport. Let's keep going. Prabhupada says that parts of body work together for the satisfaction of the whole body. And similarly, we should understand how, we've taken this example before, how when we water the root of a tree, the whole tree gets nourished. The twigs and the fruit and the flowers, we don't have to water them separately. All get nourished. So similarly, Prabhupada talks about getting into Bhakti Yoga from the beginning. He was so compassionate, right? Prabhupada used to think maybe a person will open Bhagavad Gita and whichever page he comes to, maybe he just reads a little bit and never opens it again. He should get Bhakti Yoga. So he speaks about Bhakti Yoga all over, throughout, from the beginning till the end. So here also the chapter is on Ashtanga Yoga, but when we read the purports, Prabhupada again and again emphasizes just get into Bhakti Yoga, just chant the holy names. That's the only way in this age where there's hypocrisy, where there's so much quarreling. And again, he also gave example of a big building. Like if you want to get into on the top floor, you can go through the stairs, a building of 100 floors. You can take the stairs, you will reach on the top somehow or the other. It'll take a long time. It is going to be very, very difficult. You are going to get tired. You can get distracted by stopping at any other floor. But if you have the focus, no, I have to go on the top floor, there is an elevator. So Prabhupada in each purport is like opening that elevator. Just get in, I'll take you to the top floor, which is the Bhakti Yogas. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he speaks on sannyas and yoga connection in his Shikshashtakam. Na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam jagat va isha kamaye. Mama janmani janmani Ishware bhavtat bhaktir ahuitukhi thui. So na dhanam na janam na sundarim. I don't want wealth. I don't want more elevated births. I don't want beautiful women. Kavitam va jagativa isha kamaye. I don't even want followers. So that is sannyas. That is rejection. Mentally one becomes renounced. Mama janmani janmanishwara, birth after birth after birth, I want your hoituki bhakti, unmotivated devotional service, which is the yoga connection. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also teaches us through his own examples, through his teachings, how we can be connected also, and internally we can be disconnected also. So focus is on the person in 6.1. The same person is a sannyasi and a yogi, which is affirmative assertion. Anashrita karma phalam, unattached to the, don't be attached to the fruit. Just do your duty as a matter of, just do your work as a matter of duty. So Nashrita is without taking shelter, and karma phalam is of the result of work. We'll come to the second verse, 6.2. So, Yam sanyasamiti prahur yogam tam vidhi pandava nahi anya asanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kashchana. Somebody can read the translation.
What is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga or linking oneself with the Supreme. O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, Yam Sannyasam iti prahur, Krishna says, what they call as sannyas, as renunciation, yogam tam vidhi Pandava. You should know to be same as yoga, O son of Pandu. Nahi asanyasta sankalpo, without giving up the desire for sense gratification, yogi bhavati kashana. One can never become a yogi. So Krishna says sannyas and yoga are the same. So destination is the same. We understood in chapter 5 when Krishna said sannyas and yoga are on the same level. One who says that sannyas and yoga are different, he doesn't know. He's the person who doesn't know things as they are. If you remember from chapter 5. There he meant the destination is the same. Right? We will come close to the Supreme, whether we're doing yoga or we've taken sannyas after getting purified. Destination is the same. Here, Krishna speaks about how content is also the same. How? That if one doesn't give up the desire for worldly enjoyment, one cannot be a yogi. So there cannot be authentic yoga, a genuine connection with the Lord, unless there is disconnection with the enjoyment of this world that take us away from the Lord. People say, I'll keep a balance. I want worldly things also, but I want to come close to God also. I'll keep a balance. That will never happen. If we're attached to the worldly things, we can never come close to Krishna. It's like going two different ways. We cannot go this way if we're going this way. Right? So a person who is disconnected with the fruit of the result of his work is the person who can come close to Krishna. He's walking on the ladder in one direction. He's not going up and down at the same time. So this is what Krishna means. For example, lighting fire is necessary for removing darkness. So detachment, which is sannyas, is necessary for acting for the Lord, which is yoga. Right? If there is darkness in a room, you have to light a fire, and that fire is like the detachment. Once the detachment comes, then the light will come automatically, then the connection will come automatically. Just like a child, we've taken this example many times. When a child is learning how to walk, he cannot walk by himself in the beginning. So he's holding our hand, right? An adult is holding the hand of a child, and once the child knows that yes, there is support, then he gets the courage to take his foot off and take the next step. So similarly, the connection we have with Krishna, when we hold the hands, that disconnection becomes easy. The will to disconnect or detach becomes easier when we have a strong connection. So perfect sannyasi in perfect yogi, Prabhupada says, a real sannyasa yoga. So he's combined, you see how beautifully he's made sannyasa and yoga into a compound word, and he's brought them together, or bhakti, and he equates it to bhakti. Real sannyas yoga or bhakti means that one should know his constitutional position. What is that? I am a soul, I'm not this body, as the living entity, and act accordingly. The living entity has no separate independent identity. What is the identity? Jivera Swarupoy Krishnera Nityadas. I am eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. That is the eternal identity. Now, 6.2, the focus. Remember, 6.1 was focus on the yogi. Here, the focus is on the path. Both sannyas and yoga require a common denominator, which is giving up the desire for sense gratification. And here, that was affirmative, this is negative assertion. Asanyasta sankalpo. Unless one renounces the desire for sense gratification, yogi bhavati kashana, one can never become a yogi. Let's keep going. 6.3. Any questions so far?
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead. Yes, meaning yes. There is a question or there is no
Sorry,
question?
I'm sorry. I was on mute. So the previous slide, Mataji, what is negative assertion?
So if you don't do this, then you will not be a yogi. That's negative, right? If you don't do your homework, like we tell the children, if you don't do your homework, you cannot watch TV. So you're asserting a point, but there's a negative assertion. Or it can be positive, you do your homework, then you can watch TV.
Oh, okay. Like a contingent. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless one renounces the desire for sense gratification, that's the contingent here, one can never become a yogi. So how can a person, let's discuss this for 2 minutes here. How can a person just give up the desire for sense gratification? Does it come gradual, or can one suddenly give up? Okay, I don't want to enjoy in this material world. How does it happen? Or what is the way it can happen? Or you can share if it happened to you, maybe in a degree, not completely, but even to a great extent. Yes, Deepa Mataji, I see.
It's just gradual, Mataji. It doesn't
Gradual,
all of a
okay.
sudden to a very big extent but gradually whatever is left. I mean, I can give example of myself. I'm very fond of matching jewelry when I was young. So whenever I would go out, I would look for, okay, I've got this new dress, let me buy some matching jewelry. But now, whenever I go out, now I say, now what new jewelry I can buy for my Jagannath Baldev Subhadraji. So that gradation is there immediately, and then gradually it is not for yourself, then you are doing for Lord.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. We have Deepa Mataji and we have Sanjana ji. Go ahead.
I was thinking about association with higher enjoyment, like association with devotees will just increase the desire for devotional things, and automatically you will see that material sense enjoyment is of a lower quality.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Let's have Sanjana Mataji. You have something?
Hare Krishna Mataji. So
Hare Krishna.
I remember I had asked this question to Vaishesh Maharaj, and he told me that to begin with from an absolute zero level, it's nice to start with certain boundaries. Like when we put a few restrictions and we then become more aware, like he said, for controlling the sense, because everyone keeps saying control your senses. So I was like, how do we do it? And he's like, just maybe start with controlling your tongue. So what you put on your tongue and what you speak, when you start putting all your attention and focus on what you're eating and how you speak, automatically there are like restrictions, and it you start becoming more aware of it, and naturally there is like this tendency to avoid crossing those boundaries and just indulging in it whenever and wherever possible.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. Beautiful. Okay, let's have Vishal Prabhu. You want to share? We can't hear you. You want to unmute? Oh, somehow I can still not hear. Okay, till the time you're checking your mic, we can have Sonia Mataji. You want to go ahead?
Mataji, I feel the name of Krishna or chanting Krishna is one of the ways in which, at least to some extent, the degree of the desire can go down. So a thought comes to your mind, but when you chant the name of Krishna, you're able to at least, say, I'm doing this for you, or I have this desire. And I feel there is power in which your desires can take you towards Krishna, the higher goal, and
Wonderful.
put you away from the material results or the desires.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Chanting brings purification, which makes our desires for sense gratification go down. Wonderful. Madhuri Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I would like to share my experience when I got to know about this Bhakti Yoga and ISKCON. So the sense gratification part, starting with the control of tongue, which we could do very easily, very suddenly. I mean, we used to have all possible things which was prohibited here, the onion garlic part or the non-veg part. We stopped eating very instantly. That was easy somehow. The other parts of like relating to sense gratification was also controlled. Only thing what I could not control, or me and my son both are into this bhakti, we are unable to control our mind towards entertainment. Like there are so many gadgets, there are so many entertainments going on. They're very easy to access YouTube or any other video. Like the films part, it happened slowly that I mean, it's still a gradual process. We have not yet 100% given up watching films. So we are struggling with that part. And yes, we are chanting. There's a progress, of course. We used to watch many, many films. Now the watching films has reduced. But other than films, also there are other sources of entertainment like any sports. Like nowadays, IPL is there. So IPL entertainment is going on. So should it be reduced, or should it be like, okay, we should be aware of what's happening in the world? Because there are many people around us. There are people who are telling like you are like frog in the well. You people don't know what is life, what is enjoyment. So that sometimes it affects us. And then we also know what is Krishna consciousness. So again, it's a dialogue, it's a fight.
It is going to be gradual, like Sanjana Mataji quoted what Vaisheshika Maharaj suggested, that start from small degrees. We cannot suddenly give up. Krishna also doesn't suggest suddenly give up everything, because Arjun also didn't want to fight and give up. So without that total internal detachment, without that coming, if a person gives up, then what happens is suddenly you'll take it up again. So it is not going to be very permanent. So gradual is easier. We can reduce the time. I know it is difficult, so many gadgets, so many entertainment, channels and movies. You can gradually reduce the time. Okay, only this time is the time where I will indulge in watching a little something. And then gradually you'll learn. And because you've reduced that time, the time to serve Krishna or do devotional activities will increase, right? To the same degree, you'll have that time. So the more we focus on serving Krishna, the more purification will come. With that purification, automatically, slowly, gradually, we will only, so it's not just you, we all are, that desire to engage in material things will go down. So, and then there'll be a time when you are indulging in some of that material, entertainment, you'll only feel this is such a waste of time, let me not do it. You'll only turn away from it. So it'll be gradual, but the main foundation is the knowledge that I am not this body, I am a soul. Am I putting the time that is given to me in this human birth, am I utilizing it for doing activities at the level of the soul? Or is it just at the level of the body, mind, and intelligence, which are also temporary, correct? The subtle body is also temporary. So, what is it that I can do moment by moment at the level of the soul, which will elevate me and not degrade me? It could be entertainment, but end of the day, it has wasted time because it is at the level of the mind and the intelligence senses. Maybe, we're laughing and whatever. So, once that knowledge becomes a part of me, that yes, I am a soul, then what is it that I can do at the level of the soul at every. Krishna also says, time I am. So if Krishna is time, remember it is going to come when Krishna says, I am time, devouring everything, right? So if Krishna is time, this time that I'm using, it is Krishna. So am I using that time in a purposeful way, in coming close to Krishna, right? But when I give time to watch something, maybe a movie, which is entertaining my mind, I'm killing the time myself because that time is not utilized to come close to Krishna. I'm going the opposite way. So when Krishna says, time I am, how am I utilizing that precious time, which is Krishna himself? So understand, knowledge brings detachment also. So this is really nice when we come in the association of devotees, like-minded people who are wanting to make progress in spiritual life towards Krishna. It really helps us. Gradually, we get the strength to move away from material and towards spiritual more and more. I hope that helps all of us, including myself. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, we can hear you.
Mataji, there are two important slokas which gives answers to this. One is already we have finished. Ye sanspasada bhoga dukkha yona evate adi antavanta
22. Yes.
That means whatever material enjoyment, sense enjoyments, the end will be dukkha. That we should repeatedly tell to our mind.
Yeah.
Only spirit enjoyment with relation to Krishna that can elevate us. That's the first thing. Second sloka we are yet to come that is Shanai Shanai Uparame Buddhaya Tigihitva. Means slowly, step by step, we should be situated in trance, not all of a sudden. Even doctors say one is smoking, he cannot quit it immediately. He is taking daily 5 cigarettes, reduced to 2 cigarettes, then one, twice, in 2 days, 1 cigarette, like that you quit. And that is called pratyahara, no?
Pratyahara is giving up sense objects. Yes, we'll come to that.
Yes. So these two slokas, if you study, and we know that
Remember. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you,
remember again and again, if then we will not go for
Prabhu.
sense enjoyment.
Thank you.
Sense.
Thank you for sharing, Prabhu.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mataji.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Okay, Vishal Prabhu. Oh, Krishna, cannot hear you. Okay, check your mic. Yes, Harini Mataji or Parmesh Prabhu.
Mataji, I think association is something that always helps and works because when we were in school and all the kids, parents used to tell us, okay, hang out with children who are studying. So you'll always talk about studies and not about movies or cricket. So the same way, like when we hang out with devotees and spend time with devotees, it's always about, okay, how is your chanting going on? How is it talking about spiritual activities, about chanting, about reading, and about programs. And so you're automatically, most of your time is spent around Krishna, and you're inspired to do more and more. But and on the other hand, if you give up association, or if you're not able to associate, then again your inspiration goes down. So I think the association helps you kind of control, and normally, I mean, you're just attaching yourself to something else, something higher than attaching to something more material. I think that's something that's I've seen work for me.
Very nice. Yes, like-minded people. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. All right, let's keep going. Vishal Prabhu, let us know if your mic is okay. We can. Okay, we'll continue and we'll come back to Vishal Prabhu. So Krishna now speaks about the two levels of Ashtanga Yoga, Arurukshu and Arudha. Arurukshor Muner Yogam Karma Karanam Uchyate Yogarurasya Taseva Shama Karanam Uchyate. So have somebody read the translation.
For one who is a neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means, and for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means.
Wonderful. So Krishna is going to give different stages of Ashtanga Yoga, and here he's categorizing them into two, Arurukshu and Arudha. So Arurukshu is the beginning stages and Arudha is the advanced stages. So this is something we can remember, Arurukshu, Arudha. So Arurukshu Muner Yogam, Krishna says, for the one who has just begun on the process of yoga. Now, again, remember, when he uses yoga, it means Ashtanga Yoga, not Karma Yoga over here in this chapter. So, Arurukshu Muner Yogam, one who has started the process of yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, for that Muni, Arurukshu is the beginning stage, who's just begun. Karma karana muchyate. Karma is is the means to advance. But for the one who is yoga arudhasya, so the one who is at the stage of yoga arudha, taseva, for him, what is the means? Shama karana muchyate. Shama is to give up or cessation. So giving up work is the means to advance. Let's look at this in a little more detail. The 8 stages of Ashtanga Yoga, here they are, starting from Yam. Yam, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharna, Dhyan, Samadhi. This is the Ashtanga, 8-fold mystic process of coming close to Krishna. And what are they exactly? The first 4, some people say that Pratyahar can be in Yoga Arurukshu stage also. But some say no, it comes in the Yoga Arudha, the Pratyahar that you see under Yoga Arudha. It can be either or it can be like a mix. Let's understand what these are. Yoga Arurukshu is the initial stages. Nishkama Karma Yoga is the means to spiritual progress in this Yoga Arurukshu stage. Can be practiced while working in this material world. So Yama is all the don'ts, prohibitions. Niyam is all the do's, prescriptions. So these both are rules for individual and social discipline, how we regulate ourselves individually and collectively. Asanas are the bodily exercises meant to keep the body in one position, helps the consciousness to move inwards. So when we go to for yoga classes or do yoga, it is ultimately, yes, health benefits are there, but ultimately, what does it do? Because this yogi who has to sit in meditation for hours and hours and hours, even days and months together, for him, the asanas that he's done in the initial stages helps him keep his body in one position so that he can move inwards and meditate on the Supreme Soul. So for him, this is the means. Then pranayam is the breathing exercises, makes the mind calm by regulating the breath. We must have experienced when we're angry or when we're fearful, the breath is very fast, right? But we can control it. Immediately when we take deep breaths, doctor also says, take deep breaths when he's checking. But our parents or our friends tell us, take a deep breath, which calms us quickly. So with pranayam, it makes the mind of the yogi calm and regulated. Then after going through all these stages, when one comes to the yoga arudha stage, which is the advanced stages, giving up all the activities becomes the means to spiritual progress by focusing on turning more and more inwards. So pratyahara is withdrawing from the sense objects. One stops feeding the senses by starving them. So pratyahara, prati means going opposite. Ahar means food, right? Now, this food can be literally food for the tongue, or the food can be in the form of sense objects for the ears, for the nose, for the touch. All this is food for the senses. So when a person starves the senses, that is prati ahar, going against the food or opposite to food, which means starving. So starving the senses from the sense objects. One stops feeding the senses by starving them, turning from outward to inward, cutting off from the outside world. That is pratyahar. So some people say you can start doing that even while you're doing your activities. But some people say to stop completely and cut off, you have to give up the karma completely and go to the forest, take renounce order, become a sannyasi, and sit there and practice the rest of the stages, which is pratyahar. Dharana again is higher, which is fixing the mind on the form of the Lord. Dhyan is meditating on each of the limbs of the Lord, which is more intensified. And then samadhi is complete absorption or trance in the Supreme Lord. Beautiful stages, but Prabhupada, again, he says, this is not for this Kali Yuga. It is really difficult to give up everything, go to the forest and do dharana, dhyan, samadhi. There are people, there are yogis in India who are still doing, they're still practicing. But easiest way in Kali Yuga is to chant the holy names with which we can come close to the Lord very, very quickly and easily. Yes, Deepa Mataji.
So just a clarification, Mataji. I mean, the word samadhi, in a broad sense, it's not necessarily used to specify complete absorption or trance in the Supreme Lord, right? And I mean, like, if you see there are so many people who say the person is in samadhi and it doesn't necessarily mean this. So where are all these descriptions given in the Bhagavad Gita? Has it been explained by Krishna, or is it just in the purport? Just
What is samadhi?
Yeah, like dhyana, samadhi, and the description of that. Is it given in the?
So, yeah, so Krishna has just briefly spoken about this. He hasn't got into great detail. Just like for Gyan Yoga, also, when he speaks about Gyan Yoga, he is not going into details about each and every process because it is a science in itself. Right? If you get into Gyan Yoga, analytical study of these material elements, each and every element, right? Water, air, fire, all of these elements, and then how we're not all these are temporary, going beyond to the spiritual. And in the spiritual, what are the elements? There's a lot to learn if one gets into Gyan Yoga. There's a lot to do and learn if one gets into Ashtanga Yoga. So Krishna, in 45 minutes, to tell Arjun what is the best thing for him to do, he's not getting into details of each and every process. He's just giving briefly because these are ways to come close to Krishna, to God. These are the ways. But what is the best way is Bhakti Yoga, which Krishna will speak about in detail in the middle sections, chapters from 7 to 12 chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. He gives a lot of details on Bhakti Yoga.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hare
Okay,
Krishna
so
Mataji.
Yam, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mother. In 12.5, in one sloka, he hits actually. Klesho adhikatere avyakta asaktate. For the embodied soul, because you have got this body, it is very difficult to practice this Ashtanga Yoga, unmanifested impersonal feature. It is very difficult, he is saying. Klesho adhikares, it is very difficult for us, this samadhi and all. Our samadhi is Haridas Thakur's samadhi. He used to chant, he used to forget this world, material world. That is the samadhi. And other yogas, they were for the other yugas, Satya Yuga, even
Yes, Prabhu.
Dwapara Yuga, difficult. So clearly, as we advance, in 12th chapter, he gives a clear, Arjuna is asking which is better of the two, impersonal or personal. Two-handed, simple bhakti, take your chanting bead, bhakti.
Yes, Prabhu. When we come there, when we come to that section, we'll go into detail understanding.
Yeah,
But yes,
yeah.
you're completely right. Yeah. Also, he says in the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityaja, give up all
That is
varieties and just
that is
surrender unto me. So yeah, when we
very,
come
very
there, for
difficult.
sure. But thank you for bringing that point.
That is
Thank
very
you.
difficult.
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
Yam is social discipline. Ahimsa under Yam or social discipline. What are the don'ts? Ahimsa, don't to be violent to others, be truthful, Satya. Do not steal, then celibacy, non-possessiveness. All these are come under Yam. There's so many more. This is just in brief. Also, see, Krishna hasn't spoken about all this. We are bringing it just for our knowledge. What comes under Yam? What comes under Niyam? Personal discipline, cleanliness, contentment, austerity, study, Ishwar Pranidhana, which is surrender to God. Now, at least if practically we cannot do it, at least mentally we have to surrender. So this is under Ashtanga Yoga. Remember. 6.4 यदा हीनेन्द्रियार्थेषु न कर्मष्व अनुषज्यते सर्वसङ्कल्पसन्न्यासी योगारूढस् तदोच्यते. Somebody can read the translation.
A person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities.
So let's look at the verse. Yada hi nendriyartheshu. For one, when one neither acts for the indriyas, for the sense objects, indriya, for the benefit of the indriyas, for the sense gratification, literally. Na karma swa anushajyate, nor engages for fruitive activities, sarva sankalpa sannyasi, renouncing all the material desires, yoga rudascha uchyate. So Krishna is talking about what situates a person on yoga ruda stage. Just give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. There's a call from the temple. I'll quickly take it. Sorry. Okay. Yoga Rudascho Uchate. That person is called that it is said that he's situated in the Yoga Arudha stage. So from here, Krishna is talking about this verse. Krishna is talking about a person who is at that advanced level. So three things Krishna has spoken about in this verse, how he's at that advanced level. Na indriya arteshu, which is direct. He does not engage in sense gratification. Na karmasva anu sajjate. This is indirect. He does not engage in fruitive activities that will lead to or later provide sense gratification. And then there's desiring sarva sankalpa sannyasi. One gives up the desire for sense gratification. So this stage is where a person is in yoga arudha stage level, where he's given up the worldly activities and gone to the forest. So he directly does not engage in sense gratification. He does not engage in activities which will lead to sense gratification. And he also gives up all the desire for sense gratification. Sarva Sankalpa Sannyasi, very important. So here you see, you're looking at a person who's a yogi at the level of yoga arudha. His concentration is just on the super soul within him. At this stage, one is not performing any work for the sake of material senses, and one can focus on meditating on the Supreme Lord. When the senses are too distracted, it is difficult for the mind to meditate or focus on the form of the Lord. But when the senses are not distracted, they are practically not existing. Then the mind can focus very nicely. For us also, when we are chanting Krishna's names, there are times when we are in the beginning stage. Even if there's distraction, we'll keep chanting, right? Somebody was just listening to a lecture yesterday when I heard my senior godbrother saying that there will be a time when the fifth vow for at the time of initiation will be there, that don't go on your smartphone while chanting. Don't touch your smartphone while chanting will be the fifth vow while taking initiation, because it's a big distraction. So in the beginning stage, this happens. We get distracted even while we're chanting and trying to connect directly with the Lord through his holy names. Distractions are there. But a person who has advanced will himself put away the distractions and look for a time where he can sit and chant the holy names without any distractions. So he can move inward more. He can connect with the Lord with more focus and attention. Two main ingredients to come to Yoga Arudha stage: mind control and detachment. We can use this in our Bhakti Yoga process also, right? Mind control is important, detachment is also important. So two levels of Ashtanga Yoga, Yoga Arurukshu, which is the beginning, Yoga Arudha, which is the advanced. Mind control and detachment from sense objects are the requirements to come to the advanced stage. Hence, Krishna explains the importance of mind control. You can read this is from the purport, the notes, you can read these later. Somebody can read this, you can unmute yourself and read from the screen. Kaya Mataji, you are reading, but we cannot hear you also. Something wrong with the mics? I'm not sure.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear now.
I think it's the type of thing I'm using for
Okay,
my
go ahead.
earphones.
That's okay, sir.
A devotee from the beginning performs so many activities for pleasing Krishna. His mind and his consciousness is already fixed on Krishna. He is much more superior than an Ashtanga yogi who is just doing bodily and breathing exercises in the beginning and then coming to the stage of fixing the mind on the Supreme, giving up the material activities.
Okay, so see the difference between Ashtanga Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. From the beginning itself, a person in Bhakti Yoga is trying to concentrate or do activities to please Krishna, directly in touch with Krishna through his activities, even in the beginnings, even a person is neophyte, still he's in direct contact with Krishna through devotional service. If we're making garlands, if we're cooking for the deities at home, if we're chanting God's names, everything is a direct touch. We're in direct touch with Krishna. So the process from the beginning brings purification and it is easy because we are serving Krishna, doing all these activities, serving Krishna, pleasing Krishna, versus a Shanga yogi. There is no connection with Krishna in the beginning, right? He's just there's asanas and breathing. And so another big difference is on using our own level of skill, our own capacity to control our mind and senses in Ashtanga Yoga versus Bhakti Yoga. When we are trying from our side, Krishna also helps. He covers the bridge because for us it's difficult, but because we're directly thinking, trying to think of him through chanting or through, serving in all these various ways, dancing in the kirtan, there's so many things, right? Singing for him, directly in touch. Krishna gets pleased and he propels us, he pulls us towards him. It becomes easy, it becomes joyful. You can look at the yogi in the picture. Does he look really happy? Right? He is super, like, I don't know exactly the word, but he's not joyful in the process of Ashtanga Yoga. Whereas even in the advanced stage, even a neophyte devotee is always happy because there's direct connection. The main obstacle in coming to the yoga arudha stage is difficulty in controlling the mind and attachment to sense objects. Next two verses, Krishna describes the importance of mind control. So this is from the 5 and 6. Beautiful verses. Udaret atmanatmanam na atmanam avasadayet atmaiva hi atmanu buddhir bandhur atmaineva ripur atmanah. So many atmas, right? The translation is right here. Somebody can unmute.
One must
deliver
deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditional soul and his enemy as well.
So
Beautiful.
Udaret, thank you, Prabhu. Udaret Atma Atmanam. So Krishna is saying one must deliver. So there are Atma which are used 7 times in this verse. And one Atma is used for the soul, conditioned soul. Remember we spoke about how Atma has different meanings. So one Atma over here in this verse is for the conditioned soul. The other Atma, which is the mind. So Udaret means is to deliver or rise up or to liberate oneself. So one should liberate oneself or deliver himself, which is the first Atma. Second Atma is for the mind, with the help of the mind. Na atmanam avasadayet. One shouldn't degrade oneself by the distracted senses. Atmaineva hi atmano bandhur. The controlled mind is a friend of the soul. Atmaneva ripur atmana. Ripur is enemy. The same mind can become the enemy of the soul. So let's look at this. The first Atma in the first line is the soul, then is the mind. Na Atmanam is the soul, avasadayet. Atmaineva first is the mind, then is the soul, and then the mind and the soul. So 7 times, 4 for the conditioned soul, and 3 times Krishna uses the word Atma for the mind. So Krishna is alerting us that in our inner landscape, the mind needs to be directed in such a way that the soul becomes liberated and not become entangled, but both can happen because the mind can act as a friend and also as an enemy. Let's keep going. So the context is focus is on the yogi who is now trying to renounce and focus inwards. Right? He's come to a stage where he wants to give up everything and he wants to focus inwards, but the mind can disturb him. So the mind has to be controlled in such a way that it is a friend and will liberate us, not an enemy who will degrade us. So generally, when we are physically engaged, the mind also stays engaged. This is in general. When we are doing something, the mind is also engaged in that, generally speaking. So physical engagement is conducive to keep the mind engaged. Otherwise, the mind stays idle. Because this yogi is sitting idle, right? He's not doing anything. For him, mind control is so important because an idle mind can become like a disaster, become an enemy and degrade us. In the conditioned stage, the mind is very much connected to the body, and wherever we are physically largely determines on where we are mentally. Physical exposure to sense objects make the mind also very excited about the sense objects. We go to a store where there is, for women, there's so much perfumes and makeup and this and that. Because we're there, the mind also starts to waver. Okay, let me just try this. So where we are physically also affects our mind to a greater degree, to a large degree. The mind can act as an enemy or as a friend. And how can we understand? We'll take an example. If we are in a dark room and there is a door, right? That door opens and there is a stream of light that comes in. We can see outside, right? So that door is a pathway for us to see what is happening in the outside world, right? For example, we can perceive the outside world through the stream of light coming from the door. So for us, for the person who's in the dark room, the door is the pathway for the person with the outside world. Similarly, the mind is the pathway to the consciousness. So the mind's door towards material things can be opened and the soul becomes conscious of the material things. Material desires are aroused, which bind the soul and cause bondage to this world. But then there is another door that can be opened. Now again, if there are two doors, we can open a door and go through that door. Or we can open the other door and go through that door. Can we go through both the doors simultaneously? It is not possible, right? It is physically not possible to open both doors, and so we have to choose only one door. So which door will we use? The other door, the mind's door, can be opened towards Krishna, and the soul becomes conscious of the spiritual things. Soul becomes attached to devotees association, holy name, holy dham, scriptures, etc., which purify, elevate, and liberate the soul. So we have to choose which door to open. And this is Prabhupada's notes. You can read. This is uncontrolled mind, what it can do to us. Uncontrolled mind. Because of uncontrolled mind, there can be depression, stress, hypertension, weakened determination, damage to oneself, family and society, lack of confidence, loss of trust, madness, dangerous diseases. All this happens because of disturbed senses, fickle mind, and lusty intelligence. You will not believe what happened just 2 days on Wednesday. And we got to know yesterday in our neighborhood, behind one of the streets is called Weeping Wood. We just got the news yesterday and we saw online because we didn't get, here in India, anything that happens, 3 lanes apart, you get to know immediately, right? But here, because, people are so busy, we don't get to know what's happening even in our neighborhood. So we got to hear there's an app called Nextdoor. There we got to hear that this person had weapons in the house, like guns, which is legally you can have weapons, but they were loaded and they were kept around in the house. Like one of the guns was in a cup, loaded, unsecured, and there were teenagers in the house. And they had friends over after school. The person who owned the guns was at work, and one of the friends who was visiting just happened to stumble by that gun. He got seriously wounded and he died. So just imagine the state of the parents who must have been so devastated. The teenager just went to a friend's house, never returned back because of those guns lying around in the house. So he's behind bars, that person. It's really so unfortunate and so sad. So this is, the mind playing. He must be thinking, okay, my kids know, and these guns are just lying around, but they'll be careful. But we have to be so careful. The mind can degrade us by telling us things which are not safe, which are not good for us. So at a subtle level, the mind plays havoc when it tells us, just enjoy this. This is fine. A little bit of sense enjoyment here and there is not going to do any harm, but it degrades the soul so much that rising up again to a level where we had through our devotion to Krishna, it just degrades and pushes us down. Becomes so hard to, pick up that level again. So mechanism of the mind, we've done this before. Intelligence is the decision maker, mind is the storehouse of thoughts, and the senses are still lower, which just with which we can, interact with the world. And we have to control the senses and the mind with our intelligence. And ultimately, the soul is the highest, even higher above than the intelligence. So with our soul, Atma, when Krishna says, is the jiva or the soul. By ourselves, with the soul, or being the soul, we have to take control of the mind and the senses and not be the opposite direction. We shouldn't let the mind take control of us. So what is required is conscious, consistent cultivation. And we can go a little more detail about this later, but let's keep going. 6.6, Krishna says, Bandhur Atma Atmanastasya Yenatmaivatmana Jitaha Anatmanastu Shatrutve Vartetatmaiva Shatruvat. For one who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But the one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. Again, Atma has been used 6 times for the mind and the soul, the conditioned soul. So let's look at the verse. Mind goes in all directions. We might not have absolute control, but we do have significant control over the mind. Just like a jockey who is in control brings the horse back on track. The first picture you see is the horse in control, because the horse wants to go in some direction, totally shakes or brings havoc, and the person falls off, right? But there is some control that we can have, and we can train the horse in such a way that it is directed in the direction that we want to go. So brings the horse back on track, avoids delays, destruction, and reach the destination faster. So similarly, for the mind, one needs to regulate and control and conquer the mind. Krishna uses the word jita. Jita is to conquer. Avoiding wastage or wasting one's precious time in this human form of life, and reach the destination towards Krishna's lotus feet faster. So we can either serve the Almighty, or our senses will become almighty. So this is the gradation. The Atma has to control the intelligence, which further controls the mind further controls the senses. And we shouldn't go the opposite direction. We shouldn't let the senses, which are like the horses, take control. Otherwise, there'll be destruction. So the mind, nature of the mind, if it is controlled, is our best friend. or it can be the greatest enemy. So the person who's a yogi in yoga arudha stage has made the mind his best friend. That's why even if he's sitting idle in the forest, he's not idle. He's concentrating on the Supreme Lord within his heart. He can sit like that for long periods of time. For us, we cannot do that because our mind is so fickle. It will go here and there. Let me get up. Let me just get some water. It's okay. I can go back to my chanting in some time. Let me just look at my email. This is important. I can go back to the holy names in 2 minutes. That's fine. Mind is so fickle. So that's why it is not practical to go to the forest in this age. Prabhupada kept saying, we have to be here and we have to be determined. We have to chant. Let's make our mind our best friend by telling the mind, taking control of the mind. If I have to do my chanting, or if I have to set aside a time to connect with the Supreme, let me do it early in the morning. When there is no distraction, let me give that focus. That's how slowly we can conquer and control the mind. So the role of the mind as a friend or enemy, we can look at this later. We just spoke about this. Krishna in the next 3 verses gives symptoms of one who has conquered the mind in yoga arudha stage. Beautiful verses. Jitatmana prashantasya paramatma samahitaha shitoshna sukha dukkeshu tathamana pamanayoh. Let's have somebody who hasn't read before. You can unmute and read.
For one who has conquered the... sorry, Mataji, you can go ahead.
No, Mataji, go ahead.
For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same.
So again, beautifully, Krishna is bringing these dualities back, which he spoke about in the 2nd chapter, right? There he was saying we should be equipoised. Here, Krishna is talking about a person who's already equipoised in these dualities. So the super soul is already reached for him because he's at that state, tranquil stage. And this is from the Mundaka Upanishad, from our scriptures, which confirms that although it gives analogy of the soul and the super soul, they're like 2 birds on a tree. The super soul is just sitting and looking at the other bird while the other bird is enjoying the fruit on the tree. So this example is given where when the person turns away from these fruit and looks at the other bird, that's what Krishna is waiting for us to do. Turn towards God and not get into the sense enjoyment. You can read the what's later. Jitatmana, one who has conquered the mind, which always causes agitation. Then he becomes prashantasya, he becomes peaceful, and then he's not excited falsely by hopes of pleasure in this world. He turns from outer world to inner world. That's why people who are still on the level where they're not, you can see people who are not peaceful, a little bit happens in life, they get so agitated. They get so happy or they get so distressed, they get so depressed, they will, just want to shut away themselves from others. Those are people who are still at that yoga arurukshu in the beginning stages. But a person who has controlled his mind, he becomes peaceful. Then he does not get falsely excited by hopes of pleasure. He turns from outer to inner world. Then Paramatmana Samahita, he approaches the super soul. Shitoshna Sukha Dukkeshu Tathamana Pamanayo. And the character of the person is that he's not affected by dualities. Now, 3 kinds of dualities Krishna has spoken about. Heat and cold is at the level of the body. Happiness and distress at the level of the mind, and honor and dishonor at the level of the ego. So all of these 3 dualities, he doesn't get affected by these. Next verse, Jnana Vijnana Triptatma Kuta Stha Vijitendriyaha Yukta iti uchate yogi Loshtrashma Kanchanaha. Somebody can read.
A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same. Bhagavad Gita 6.8. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So a person who's still more advanced. So here are dualities, right, of the body, mind, and ego. A person who is still advanced, Krishna says, he looks at pebbles in this world, he looks at stones, and he looks at gold with same equal vision. Who remembers 5.18? Verse number 5.18.
I don't know the.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini
Shuni Chaiva.
Shaiva Shukashcheva Pandita Samadarshina.
So there Krishna spoke about, he was talking about Nishkama Karma Yoga. He spoke about the equal vision of a Karma Yogi. Here Krishna is speaking about the equipoised vision of an Ashtanga Yogi. He's looking at pebbles, stones, and gold with equal vision. As per our Upanishad, 3 practices form a progressive path in Vedantic sadhana. Jnana, Vijnana, and Triptatma, which Krishna has just now spoken about. So at the level of Shravan, when we hear about from the scriptures, when we get knowledge, when we hear intently, the knowledge enters our ears and provides the foundation. Then there is Manan, which is thinking and contemplating, which comes to the level of Jnana. It goes to the head, ensuring that the knowledge is thoroughly understood, and there are no doubts. Then there is Nidhi Dhyasana, which is internalizing. Process of applying the transformation becomes, sorry, I cannot see here. It becomes Vijnana. It goes to the heart. So the knowledge becomes realized knowledge when we start to internalize and to practice it. For this person, he becomes, his life has become transformed internally also when his consciousness has gone deeper. And the knowledge now has become realized knowledge because he's applying it in his life. So for examples are given map, prescription, recipe, and manual. How? Because all these things become truly beneficial when we are applying them. They become, similarly, scriptures become truly enlightening for us. They become beneficial, illuminating, purifying, and transformational. Sorry for the spelling of beneficial. I'm typing it quickly. So only when we apply the scriptural knowledge can we experience benefit in our life. Just like if there is a map, unless we go on the map, we will go through the directions. According to the map, we will not reach the destination. If there's a prescription given, because there is some ailment, unless we take the prescription or eat it, there will not be any, cure. For the recipe, we might have a beautiful, pictures of a recipe, like gulab jamuns are there. You can see the pictures, the whole recipe is there, but unless we apply it, meaning unless we get the ingredients and make it, we cannot taste it. And manual also, we get some electronic, unless we read the manual properly, we will not be able to function that machinery. So scriptures are like that. We are going through all this, but unless we apply it in our life, there will not be a transformational change. Beautiful. This is what I heard in one of the lectures, and I brought it in slides. So we're taking this example. If there's a ship which is moving towards its destination, it is propelled by its own engine and propellers, right? And you can see how slowly it's moving. But if there is an ocean current which acts like a significant force that aids the ship's progress, impacting its speed and direction towards wherever. It can go the opposite way also, but just imagine that current is favorable and it is propelled towards its destination. So if it had to reach in, a certain time, the time goes really, there's a big change in that time, and the ship reaches so quickly its destination, right? So we understand this example. The waves or the current propel the ship towards its destination very quickly with less effort. Similarly, when we from our side are trying to move towards Krishna or God through our devotional service, and we try to remember him. For example, we're just sitting, maybe chanting, or we are in a train going somewhere. Closing our eyes, we are trying to think of Krishna. It propels us towards Krishna. But imagine that current which comes. And what is that current? When Krishna remembers us. When Krishna remembers us, because of our sincerity, our devotional services that we're doing with determination, with focus, then Krishna sends that current, that wave that propels us towards Krishna. That's why there might be some times when you feel suddenly, when you're looking at the deities or hearing some kirtan, we start crying, right? That comes because Krishna is thinking of us. He is pleased with us. And that crying is the soul's way to express its connection with Krishna, because Krishna is now remembering us. It's beautiful. The Bhakti Yoga process is so beautiful. It's so sublime. It is so quick, and it can become so fast if we just turn away from the sense objects and turn towards Krishna, focusing more and more. It might be gradual. Some people can turn 180 degree. It is so quick for them because of their past, devotional life in their previous lifetimes. But it can happen for us quickly because of, if we take the association of other devotees very seriously, if we take the scriptures seriously, if we take our services seriously, that propelling can come really quickly. So Smaran is, we're trying to move and swim in the ocean towards Krishna, but Spurti is when Krishna is pleased with our sincerity. He remembers us and he sends a wave with which we are propelled towards him far more rapidly than we can with our own efforts. Here is a beautiful video. We're going to watch this. So you must have seen these various competitions where people are singing competitions, right? So this video, I think there are 3 or 4 competitions, various, not the same competition, at different times, sung by other, different singers. And these are all children singing, but the bhajan is same. And it is so beautiful when they're singing. In the end, towards the just 3-4 lines you'll hear, not the whole bhajan by all these 4 or 5 with 3 or 4 singers, just 3 or 4 lines, but towards the end of those 3rd, 4th line, they are calling out to Krishna, just saying Krishna in the bhajan, and the tone, the pitch goes higher and higher. And I'm thinking it's just like the way Draupadi was calling out to Krishna when she was really in a helpless situation. And you'll see what happens to these children when they sing and they cry out. In their singing, not literally, not in that mood of surrendering to Krishna, but still they're crying out Krishna's names in such a beautiful way, higher and higher pitch. All 4 of them, different times of competitions, they all start crying because something happens within them that moves. And what is it that happens is Krishna is also calling out to them. This is what it's not, this is what I had realized when I saw this. Krishna, because they're crying out so helplessly, not literally in that mood, but in their tone and in their pitch, they're crying out for Krishna, for God. God is also thinking of them and propelling them towards him. And they just don't know what's happening. And they just stop singing and they start crying. So let's watch this. You might have watched, but let's look at this. And one of them, this particular girl, she's a Muslim. Can you imagine?
Dharma
Indian, so you might not understand some
പാടിക്കോ പാടിക്കോ. ചേരും ഓടക്കുഴലിന്റെ
ചേരുമോടക്കുഴലിന്റെ
ആ പാടിക്കോ മോളെ, പേടിക്കണ്ട, പാടിക്കോ.
അവൾക്ക് സങ്കടം വന്നു സർ. കാർമുകിൽ വർണ്ണന്റെ ചുണ്ടിൽ ചേരുമോടക്കുഴലിന്റെ ഉള്ളിൽ വീണുറങ്ങുന്നൊരു ശ്രീരാഗമേ നിന്നെ പുൽകിയുണർത്താൻ മറന്നു കണ്ണൻ. കൃഷ്ണ 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 കൃഷ്ണ. കാർമുകിൽ വർണ്ണന്റെ ചുണ്ടിൽ ചേരുമോടക്കുഴലിന്റെ ഉള്ളിൽ കാർമുകിൽ വർണ്ണന്റെ ചുണ്ടിൽ ചേരുമോടക്കുഴലിന്റെ ഉള്ളിൽ വീണുറങ്ങുന്നൊരു ശ്രീരാഗമേ നിന്നെ പുൽകിയുണർത്താൻ മറന്നു കണ്ണാ. കൃഷ്ണ 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 കൃഷ്ണ.
what happens to us when we think of Krishna so intently. Okay, let's keep going. This is the last verse. We'll quickly finish. Suhrin mitrari udasina madhyastha dev dveshya bandhushu sadhveshu sadhushvapi cha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate. But you can read.
A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral, meditators, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So remember when he spoke about in 6.6, he spoke about the dualities, then he spoke about how 6.8 that he's situated where he looks at pebbles and stones and gold with equal vision. Now he's talking about the relationships, not just dualities like people who are enemies or friends, but he's getting into relationships where we are, in this material world, having friends and, relatives and colleagues. All these relationships can become where people are neutral, where they're mediators, where they're envious, friends and enemies, pious, sinners, all of them, this person looks with equal vision. So we are more sensitive to people and relationships and regard equally, the person who regards equally honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, neutral mediators, envious friends, enemies, and pious and sinners, all with an equal vision. It's really very difficult stage to reach, but for a person who is at that further advanced level, he looks at everyone, all categories of humans with an equal vision. So this is the process. Materially attached people look at others based on their potential to provide sense gratification. If I make friendship with this person, what am I getting back? Is his company giving me joy? Does he crack jokes? This is material mind, right? For our own sense gratification. But the vision of a Sarva Sankalpa Sannyasi that Krishna spoke in 6.4, knowing that objects of the senses won't make me happy, they give up the desire for sense gratification. Therefore, they don't evaluate people based on their potential for sense gratification. What can they give to me? Because we are not desiring sense gratification. That's why we don't look at people with that vision. What is it that they're going to give me? So they don't need to look for outward gratification. That's why one can have equal vision by being tripta within. So this is the process in which one can become tripta or have an equal vision and be self-satisfied. We've done this word from the verse from the Bhagavatam before. Beautiful verse. Yat pada pankaja palasa vilasa patya karmasayam gratitam utgratayanti santaha tadvandariktamatayo yatayo piruddha shroto ganastamaranam bhajavasudevam. For the devotees who are always engaged in the service of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord can very easily overcome the hard-knotted desire for fruitive activities. Because this is very difficult for non-devotees, the jnanis and the yogis, although trying to stop the waves of sense gratification, cannot do so. Therefore, we are advised to engage in the devotional service of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. Bhaja Vasudeva. Waves of material desires are submerged by the divine wave of spiritual desire to please Krishna. So this is in summary. Krishna spoke about from 7 to 9 symptoms of a yoga arura in the yoga arura stage, completely neutral to all material existence and dualities. 6.7, 8 sees all objects equally, pebbles, gold and stone, fully satisfied by jnana and vijnana. And 9th verse sees all people also equally. This is the most advanced stage. And then next class, Krishna, having described the perfectional stage of Ashtanga Yoga, Krishna will now describe the activities in the practice stage from Arurukshu stage. So method to achieve, not the S shouldn't be there, achieve the perfection. I'll correct that. Okay, that's it for today's class. I'm sorry we went little over time. Any questions or any reflections? We covered quite a lot. Yes, Ipsita Mataji.
Mataji, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Krishna.
When you were teaching the last verse right now, just a thought came to me, which I wanted to confirm from you. Is oftentimes when we look at children, when they are making friends, because that time they have not been submerged into the material world and the grass so much, their soul is still connected to Krishna, I feel. That time their friendships and associations are pure from the heart. You will see sometimes adults would come in and say, oh, don't be friends with this person because they are from maybe this background or their parents or their family status, any, but the child's soul in that sense is still so connected to Krishna that they are not seeing the duality based on what this person's friendship is giving me for sense gratification, then just to some extent.
Very good point. Yeah, the yogi is at that stage where he does not distinguish. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you. Beautiful reflection. Okay. Let's hear from somebody else. Any reflections or any questions? Yes,
That
Mataji.
song video was really beautiful, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I showed it to my mom also. She started crying. It is very
Really,
touching.
really.
Yeah, very
Yes,
touching. Did you understand what they were singing?
No, Mataji.
We don't know
No,
what
I didn't.
language it is, right?
Tamil, I think.
Malayalam,
Tamil.
Mataji. It is
Oh my.
Malayalam, the place
Okay.
I am staying. Yeah.
Did you understand what they said? I mean, apart from Krishna?
Yeah, little. I am not so saying
Okay.
Malayalam.
Okay.
Malayalam is this company is very famous for its songs.
Okay. I will send because now you told it's Malayali. I have a friend who's Malayalam, so she's a Malayali, so I'll send it to her, and maybe the first two lines what they've sang, we'll get to know the meaning. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay,
Tell
we
me
did
this
also.
Malayalam. They sing very well.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Kaya Mataji, you had something to share, or you had a question?
Yes, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Today's class, I am just feeling very deeply that the whole reason that Bhakti Yoga is the bottom line and the path that helps us to really reach Krishna is because it is all about the love. Like without love, you can do austerity after austerity after austerity, but if there's no love, you cannot feel Krishna, because that is, I think, his language. I mean, I'm a novice. I don't know if I can speak to his language, but I feel like without love, there is, and the pure love of bhakti, there is no way to reach the feet of the Lord. There just is no way. And
That's why
yes,
Bhakti Yoga is called Yoga of Love.
yeah, and also the video really, really touched me, and I just am so thankful, and also like all the different points that people were mentioning of like how we get we are able to turn away from the material sense gratification is like when we have association. Like I think of all of the devotees that I love so deeply at the temple, and like how much they mean to me. And when I am in their association, when I am in everyone's association here, it brings me to a higher level. Like I always tell Sanjana Mataji this, like on Sundays, I love, and any day that I go to the temple, I could be doing my jap and it'll be on one level. And then the minute I see the devotees at the temple, my japa goes to a higher level because of their sadhana and because of their purity of heart and my love for them also. So it's just yes. And then also like the temple food, when we have the prasadam, it is the fact that it has been offered with such love and devotion to Krishna. And then if we partake of that, it is so transformative. So I'm just feeling like how blessed we are that we are on this path and that we have so many tools to draw us in to the sweetness of Krishna. And I'm sorry, I could go on for hours. I'm sorry.
Thank you for sharing. It is very
Hare
important.
Krishna.
And these are stages of progress also for us. You know, according to Rupa Goswami, he says we have to have friendships in Krishna consciousness. That also propels us towards Krishna. Without association, without having deep friendships, it is very difficult. So the friendships become like a foundation, like a propelling force, which pushes us towards Krishna. It's a wonderful point. Thank you so much for sharing, and the prasadam. Yeah, wonderful. That's why coming to temple also is very important. All right. Then we'll meet again next.